So I feel like this is an important part that gets left out, an important aspect, because I've talked to people, and when we talk enough, I can see that maybe, and a lot of times it's unconscious, they have this imaginary projection that if somebody's really destined for awakening, their whole life was just kind of nice and sattvic and grew up in some Brahmin family, and things were just kind of easy. They didn't have any emotional suffering or physical suffering or any defects of character or addictions or habits, etc. Why do they think that? Because nobody talks about it. Your favorite gurus and spiritual teachers, I like them, just saying, they don't talk about, you can say, the messy side of awakening. And it can be messy. Remember, I don't believe in the whole 100% awakening. As long as we're in a human form, there's going to be something else to kind of rub out and fine tune. There's no perfect human personality, no matter who you are, no matter who you are. So that's why whenever I say awakening, something inside is like, okay, what are you saying? But it's cool. Some of you guys know what I'm saying. It's messy. It's messy before awakening, and it can be messy during the awakening, and the mess can carry over into the so-called awakening. See, you don't just, it doesn't happen like that. You don't just become, like some Superman that doesn't do anything wrong and doesn't make mistakes. And everyone has had a messy. You gotta have a messy life before you can enjoy what it feels like to have a more cleaner inner space. There's no way around it. This whole game of life is transcendence. This is what the whole evolutionary game is about. Well, you can't transcend something unless you've tasted doing certain things that give you a sense of smallness, and you feel fettered, and you feel miserable. See, that's part of the deal. You have to do that. So then something wakes up and is like, I don't want to do this anymore. Oh man, but I can't stop. Uh-oh. What am I going to do? That's what motivates this whole transcendence. Because then you realize, or willing to realize, that there must be a power that's greater than this individual human personality self that you're taking yourself to be so long. Because that little human self can't transcend anything hardly. You know what it does a lot of times? Even if the people say, no, I stopped doing this. Well, usually they transfer that energy into something else. You stop smoking weed, you start drinking, or you stop this, you start that. You stop racing sport bikes, and then maybe you get into jet skis or some adrenaline activity. It's not real transcendence. So at some point, something realizes, it's like, wait a minute, I don't have the power to stop doing these things that inside I want to stop doing, because I'm done with doing them. Like, I don't want to do it anymore, but I can't stop. And anytime I think I stop, really, I just transferred it onto something else, another form, another addiction, another attachment, another thing to be distracted with. Wisdom kicks in at some point and realizes that. So then you start to discover a deeper power in you, and you can say that's the beginning of a true spiritual practice, spiritual awakening, etc. Nobody's exempt from that. If we could see the string of lifetimes, some of your favorite spiritual teachers, they might have done some things that you're like, no way. Yeah. See, we don't know. So, because see, when people don't talk about this other side, this messy side, more than the innocent kind of naive people, maybe the younger people who haven't really been on the planet long enough, they start to think, like, what am I doing wrong? Because they're saying all you got to do is stop thinking and realize nothing exists, and then they look like they're happy because they're doing their laughing yoga. And so it's like, what's wrong with me? Like, something's wrong. Or they go into some kind of, you can say their psyche's fragile already, and they can have some kind of just like breakdown and just start walking in circles saying nothing exists, you know? I feel that would be curtailed if you heard more about the human side of things, because everybody has that. Everybody has that. And also the past. What happened before you start thinking that you're awake? What happened then? Now, some of you might say, well, Yash, won't you tell us then? See, you're talking about they're not saying it, but you're not saying it either. Yeah, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to keep it a secret. No, I'm going to say it. So what did I do? I did everything. Like, seriously, I did everything. I went to jail a couple times. I was in a rehab. I went to jail for driving on a suspended license. In Florida, probably still, I was going to say back then, but they just lock you up for anything. That's why I don't like to live in America, you know. I like to live places where there's like no police, hardly. That has its own consequences, but it's cool. I like that. Handle stuff vigilante style if somebody gets out of hand, you know. So, been to jail, been to rehabs. I got strung out on smoking weed when I was a teen, and I thought I was losing my mind. I was losing my mind. On weed or off weed, I was like losing my mind. I was having a psychosis. I wasn't having an awakening, so I know the difference. So I had to go to a rehab. I checked myself. Intuition activated and said, you know what? You need to go to rehab. And my human mind was like, I think so. So I went to one when I was 15, got clean, started going to 12-step meetings after that. That's why I'm a big proponent of 12-step meetings, because they like seriously helped me, you know. And so then some of my best friends are in those meetings. I try to tell people when I'm doing consults and they're feeling lonely or they're trying to work on some addiction that they can't overcome, I say, bro, go to a 12-step meeting. It's not an ego thing. Like, don't think you're better than that. And you're going not just to get support to overcome your addictions and habits. You're going there to meet people, because you're going to meet other people who are raw and real and you get along with. That's why every time I go to Florida, I'll go back to the 12-step meetings. Not because I think, oh no, if I don't, I'm going to get high. No, I like seeing my people. I hadn't seen him, and I've known him, you know, for 30 years. So that's why we go. But it can also help one at the beginning get some inner power to overcome these things. So anyway, I was an adrenaline junkie. I like the sport bikes. I used to drive the CBRs and Ninjas, and I'm talking about like drive them. I like to pop up and do wheelies, and try to impress the girls. Me and my Indian friend went to Thailand, and you can rent those things there. But the mafia rents them. That's the problem. And so there's all these damage scams. And anytime you rent it and you bring it back, they're like looking. And if there's a little scratch that was already there, they're going to be like, you got to pay us $5,000, man. You scratched our bike. And if you're like, nah, I'm not going to do it, they're like, yeah, you are. You see? Dangerous stuff. But I used to like to, we'd rent those in Thailand because nobody has them. They just drive the little scooters. So then we'd drive around and I'd pop the wheelie and then everybody's like, whoa, you know, and I like that. See, I like that attention. And I used to be obsessed with trying to get girls to give me attention and attraction. I didn't really want a girlfriend. I just wanted you to like, let me know I'm all right. So I had deep insecurities, inadequacies, etc. I mean, I can go on and on, man. What else? I used to like to fight, but not really. You see, this is how the mind plays. It like tells us to do stuff that we don't really want to do. I would like to almost get into a fight, have the other person back down. That felt good. I didn't want to actually, you know, that was risky. But I mean, I'd do it. I got into boxing and stuff, and then. Oh, heartbroken? Man, I know all about that. I mean, girls, when the relationship ended, it would devastate me, okay? So, I'm telling you, everybody has to taste that and experience that. If they didn't, how are they going to help anybody? That's the thing. They can't really help anybody. Not going to help anybody. I say over and over again, if you just tell them nothing exists and your problems aren't real and You know, don't worry about it. What, do you feel better when somebody tells you that? Maybe for a minute, the ego likes that because it's like, that's a good excuse to kind of just spiritual bypass everything, sweep it under the carpet. They're saying like it don't exist, so why even look at it? And life will catch you out there later. You'll have to look at it. But let that organically happen. If that seems to be working for you now, to sweep everything under the carpet and pretend nothing exists, that's cool. So then that was all the stuff that happened before. But I want to make a different video on the post-awakening. Something inside, every time I say awakening, is like, but you know, okay. Yeah, because that's a separate video, because people are asking about that too. But the main point on this video is to drive home the fact awakening's messy. It's just messy. You gotta suffer all these things that you're experiencing and addicted to, and all your desires and all that. Like, that has to come to an organic end. Well, do you think that ends a happy ending? You can get those in Thailand. You think that's, you know, that's what it, you're like, I just see that I shouldn't do those things, so I'm going to stop. No. A lot of times that energy is attached to these things, that habit's strong. That habit has to dissolve and die out. And so then that's what creates this emotional turmoil inside and tension. That's the messy part. And that depends on our karma. You know, that has to go through its process in many different things. There's many stupid habits that we do that keep us small and sick and out of touch with our true power, our awakening power. And so then we have to stop doing those things. But then we find that's difficult to stop doing them. So then then the rubber meets the road or something. Then it's hard, the friction. We feel that inner friction. We're like, I know what I need to do, but I can't do it. That's messy. That's what we got to go through for one who's destined to wake up to their true nature. Is you're going to go through that tension. And then you're going to start to realize this nice, you can say, formless presence that's in you. Something's going to start realizing, wait a minute, isn't this more who I am than this human personality outfit that I'm portraying all the time? Yeah, that's part of me too, but isn't this a deeper essence of what I am? Something starts realizing that. Something enjoys putting your attention on that. But then you lose it, seemingly. And then you're back into human identity. Then you're like, I want to come out of that again. And then you come out of it. And then you go back into it. You see, that's the messiness. There's no way to bypass that. You can't skip that. Nobody can skip it. Can't. Okay, so I think if that was talked about more, I think people would trip less. I think that the spiritual bypassing would be less. I think there would be a less fakeness, spiritual fakeness. There would be more of an acceptance and embracing of this human self that the consciousness is wearing for a while. There would be some acceptance of that. There wouldn't be denial of it. As I've said before, when you deny that, you look weird, it's imbalanced, and you can tell by one's students or followers how good the teacher is. That's the secret. Somebody asked me once, like, can you make a video? How do you know if it's a good teacher? See who their students are. If you got a bunch of students, like sometimes you see, I never had this yet on my comments, and they say, they'll leave comments and be like, the apparent me is saying hi to the apparent you. Yeah, somebody that's really starting to wake, you don't talk like that. It's 100% mind that's doing that, I'm not making fun. I'm making fun of the ego. Why not? We're supposed to make fun of the ego. If somebody takes that personal, that means you're identified with the ego, I love making fun of the ego. So-called my ego, your ego, everybody's ego. It's one ego. It's like there's one consciousness. All right, I'm going to make the other video on post-awakening. So, yeah, have a good day.